Hey guys, welcome to another episode of our Arcane Assist Battle Report series. We're taking a break from the Challenger League this week, and we're going to be showing off a bit of a couple of fan favorite casters. I'm recording today with Evan. How are you doing, Evan?
We're doing good.
Cool. So today I'm playing CYGNAR. I've just got a bunch of painted CYGNAR back from Primal Painting Studios. My buddy Ben does work there and has put together maybe my favorite color scheme of all the armies that I play. CYGNAR is actually based off a stained glass window near a place I used to live in Italy. But that's a little bit beside the point. The list that I'm playing is Captain Jeremiah Kraye. I've got a kind of unusual conversion where I've chopped off Kraye at the waist, replaced the upper half with the original alternate sculpt for Prime Haley. Seems weird to say original alternate sculpt. So I've got Kraye with a Sylys Wyshnalyrr, gives me free upkeep and a little bit of extra range on some of my spells. I brought a unit of Rangers. The Rangers in this list are largely there just for Kraye's gun, which with rate of fire 2, I like to have it rat 8, so you can keep his mobility really, really high. And because they're a fairly effective jam while I deliver my army of large warjacks. My battle group is 2 Centurions and 4 Hammersmiths. And then I have a Gobber Tinker, a Linus Arisal for Hunter's Mark, and Ragman for access to Death Shroud. And what did you bring, Evan?
So I brought Goreshade3 with a battle group of Deathjack and 2 Deathrippers. I also have the Withershadow Combine because 3 upkeeps can be a bit of a burden sometimes. I brought Wrong Eye and Snapjaw because I have a kind of a bit of a death skew going on with the next couple units I have. I have a Warwitch Siren and 2 full units of Carrion Thralls, as well as a unit of Bane Warriors.
So, without further ado, I guess we're going to jump right into the game here. So, you can see from the way we've got our kind of deployment set up here. Sorry, before we jump into things, I should give a shout out to the fact that we're playing off-site today. We're playing at Black Knight Games, which is our favorite local gaming store. And John had the flu, so we were playing today in the back room where they have a little space set up that we can do some studio recording, which is quite generous of them. Got some noise-canceling boards set up there so that the space doesn't echo quite as much. And a room that fits basically a table and is isolated from the rest of the shop. So let's talk a little bit about turn 1 and deployment choices. Obviously, we're playing Outlast. See the terrain labeled appropriately. On my first turn here, I run all of the Rangers up into the forest there, so they're benefiting from Prowl. They have stealth while they're in a forest. Kraye casts Easy Rider and Bullet Dodger, camps 1, and make sure that all the jacks are in his control area. I'm going to say her at some point in this battle report. That's just how we do on Arcane Assist. Hammersmiths are just walking 4 and then repositioning 5. Kraye's Iron Horse ability is basically Field Marshal reposition 5. He also gives the cavalry advantage to all of his jacks, all of his heavy and light war jacks, should I say. Ragman moves up behind them, as does the Gobber Tinker. And then the Centurions advance 4, cast Polarity Field, and thanks to Easy Rider, advance 5 into that rubble with Pathfinder, because they're in Kraye's control area, so they get Pathfinder. So it's a fast list. Obviously, it moves really, really quickly. I've got that Polarity Field on both of those Centurions. They can't be charged. Evan, how are you thinking? What do you feel on this turn?
So I'm hoping to move up, get into a position where the Banes aren't going to just get charged by a couple Hammersmiths and die. Kind of prepare them for the counter charge once the Hammersmiths have to deal with a bunch of birds being in their face, because the birds are kind of just chaff in this list. They can do one of 2 things. I guess one of 3 things. Thing number 1 is they jam hard, and they're def 13, which is kind of helped by Starcrossed. It's kind of that tipping point on the parable of probability, we'll say. I don't know if that's how that...
Can we just get that on a t-shirt somewhere? Parable of probability?
Yes.
Did you meant parable, like as in like a story one tells to teach a lesson?
What's the mathematical equation that makes like a curve?
Like a bell curve or like a parabola of probability?
Parabola! That's the word!
That's better. That's better. A parabola of probability.
I am not a math student.
or it turns out an English student.
Well, I mean, like, Parable is still a word.
Yep, that's the bar for English. Did you use actual words or not?
Yeah.
That's how we determine communication.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
That's how I determine communication.
Not like, what did those words mean and did they correspond to my intention? But like, did we use actual words? Let's just do the commentary with actual words, but not necessarily corresponding to any meaning.
I can't even.
We get off the train.
The train is Deathjack murdering rangers and then siphon bolting Lanissa.
Yeah, so we should probably address, you put Infernal Machine on Deathjack from Goreshade, who moved up behind that cover, and then Deathjack charged a ranger just outside the forest, kills a ranger, second initial kills a ranger, siphon bolt boost hit, kills Lanissa in concealment, which is actually great. That's huge for you right now.
And the rest of the turn is basically just running.
So, the Deathjack move. Tell me about that.
So I figured Lanissa is basically the only thing that's making you out-threat me, so I figured I'd kill her. I didn't think through the fact that I would just be in your threat range anyways afterwards. So there's Deathjack. You have to deal with him now. That's
true. And at 13-19, Deathjack's a bit of a puzzle. He definitely offers some concerns. You're just checking to make sure your arc nodes are still in
yes.
Goreshade's control, right?
Yeah,
so they power up next turn.
Or will be. These birds are just going to make a screen basically in front of the Bane warriors that are going to come up.
The birds are interesting. On the face, it looks like they just don't have the damage potential to deal with the armor skew that I brought. But they're a little bit tricky in that I just actually don't have a ton of infantry clearing in this list. I mean, Rangers can take out one each a turn, but they're not like the answer to them. I'm not taking out multiples of them pretty easily. Kraye has access to like an AoE 4 spell, which could maybe do some work against these guys with Sylys's Arcane Secrets. But I'm pretty anxious about what I'm going to do about just the volume of infantry that you presented in this particular matchup.
So I only talked about the first thing because then we got sidetracked. Something about trains.
Sure. Yep.
So the other two things that the birds do is they can kind of do damage with Finisher once I've put a point of damage on something, and they also have CMA
against damage models, and CMA. It's also a mat and damage fixer.
And they are just disposable things that can get more or less anywhere for my feet.
Right, that's correct.
Which kills one of my models, but places an AoE 3 on them, and stationaries all enemy models that aren't immune to cold in that AoE.
That's relevant because the only immune to cold model in my entire list is Lanissa Rissel, who you just murdered with a siphon bolt.
So yeah, things are looking up there.
Okay, so
I also moved up Wrong Eye and Snapjaw, and I figured Rangers are not that great at shooting. I should be safe to not submerge, but I did cast Starcross this turn just because I figured some things might move within that bubble once they cut through the first swath of birds and get into the second line. And then I hand it off to Tim.
So Wrong Eye is on one transfer, and I've got a bunch of POW 11s that I can put into this Armor 17 Gator who has 8 boxes. It doesn't seem like it's great math, but I can probably boost 2 of those because Kraye has two shots on the gun, which is range 13. As you can see, I'm running down a 10-inch template and a 3-inch template. I'm thinking about where Kraye is going to go to do that. Repo 5 means I can still stay behind that forest where I feel relatively safe. So I've got a couple pieces that I have to unpack to do that. So Sylys moves back, puts Arcane Secrets on Kraye. If Wrong Eye toughs, I'm going to need an Arcane Secreted bolt of some kind to finish him off. I've also got a Hammersmith who's in the way, so that Hammersmith is going to get out of the way. But first, I'm going to put the Rangers in a position. So one of the Rangers moves up, just advancing to get within 5 inches of Wrong Eye. Might as well be Rad 8 against him. The remaining 3 remain out of Starcrossed range, and one of them's in the forest, 2 of them aren't. They all have line of sight past that obstruction. So guy who's in Starcrossed range needs 6, misses because of Starcrossed. The other 2 guys out of Starcrossed range, they need 4s to hit because you're 12 and you're more than an inch behind that obstacle.
Correct.
So they hit, and for damage, do a point. Next guy hits and does 1 point. Third guy, he hits, and dice minus 6 does 4 points of damage.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. Like, that's exactly what I need the Rangers to do. They did 6 points of damage. These wrong iron 2 boxes. I feel pretty good about Kraye's 2 boosted POW 11s finishing him. Plus maybe a tough check. We'll see. So I just advance the Hammersmith here 4 inches, stay more than 9 away from the Banes after I repo 5 into the trench. Kraye activates. She moves up 8. First shot, I'm at 8, so I feel like 4s to hit I don't need to boost, and I'd really like to be able to cast Easy Rider, so I don't boost. Connects. This time I boost damage. This is POW 11. That is enough to kill, so Evan's forced to transfer it. Puts some damage into Snapjaw. We hit the second attack. Not by much, but I hit it. Boost damage. And that's enough to kill. Fails the tough check. So that's big. That's a 17-point swing. I'm feeling really, really good about setting that up. I cast Easy Rider, and I reposition 5 inches back, staying behind that. I also feat. Throw down that PG coin there. So I feated. The feat gives +2 speed to my jacks. It also gives them the ability to make a free power attack, charge, slam, those sort of things. So I'm now looking for a way to kill Deathjack, because Deathjack is a problem. And I think that way is going to be those 2 Centurions plus Dark Shroud. So this Hammersmith doesn't have line of sight to Deathjack, so he just tramples. Easy Rider gives him Pathfinder. He makes a 4-inch, he makes a up to a 9-inch trample, but I just get into melee range. And then I buy an attack because I have a focus from power up, and I trampled for free because it's a power attack. He puts a couple of points of damage into this check. He's dice -2, so I think he puts 5 damage in, which is about right. And I beat back, which we'll see resolved in a second. I was just confirming with Evan that for some reason I thought Infernal Machine gave defense, but it in fact does not. That's a different spell. Probably Superiority is what I was thinking of. Infernal Machine is speed and murderous. So Ragman advances 6 inches, and he casts Death Field. And Evan said, does Ragman have Pathfinder? And I'm like, of course he has Pathfinder. He's got a walking stick. Don't you know your models? But I don't know why Ragman has Pathfinder, but he does. He doesn't get it from Easy Rider because he's not a faction model, I say with great confidence, although I don't know that Easy Rider does have that clause. But he does have it based. So he walks into that forest, casts Death Field, and now the Hammersmith's applying the Dark Shroud debuff because it's within 3. I charge the Centurion into Deathjack. We're just turning those models because they've got a little bit of overhang. I get base to base for an impact attack, which connects with a 6. Again, he's mat 7 now, which is a big deal for him. And this impact attack is POW 12, but effectively 14 because of Dark Shroud. Puts a couple of points in a Deathjack. He...
That's a to-hit roll there.
Sorry, yeah, that's the connected with the charge attack, which also crit sustains. And I don't roll super well on the charge, but it is dice +1. So I do a good chunk of damage. And then the shield also hits. And the shield does, I think, a few points, because, again, POW 14 shield goes to 16 with Dark Shroud, and then I'm just rolling damage on the last one because of critical sustain. So good damage to Deathjack. The second Centurion also charges, also is able to make its impact attack, which also connects, and actually does quite a few damage to the impact attack. So he's going to make the charge attack. The charge attacks are boosted because of cavalry advantage. He crit sustains as well. And he is dice -1, kills Deathjack, is able to spend his focus to put up Polarity Field, and then repositions 5 inches into the back of the zone with the I can't be charged from models in my front arc clause. Just spinning that Centurion back around so they're facing the way they're supposed to be. So I feel pretty good about that. Kills Deathjack and gets to put a Polarity Fielded Centurion at the back of the zone. Like, I'm feeling super safe with those pieces. I've got Kraye pretty well insulated. The Hammersmiths here are going to come up to kind of make a bit of a jack wall. Garber Tinker's in position so that if he charges the Hammersmith who came in or the Centurion who can be charged and does some good damage to them, I can repair with the Garber Tinker, keep all of my pieces relevant. And I felt like I did really, really good work this turn. Killing Deathjack and Wrong Hand Snapjaw. I'm feeling like I'm in a commanding position from an attrition perspective. How are you feeling, Evan?
Not great. Like, I did not expect to lose Wrong Eye and Snapjaw that turn in any capacity. I thought Deathjack was going to die, so that's fine. That's a loss that I was willing to take. But now I am not sure how to deal with the 6 heavies you've presented me. It's an issue. especially with the Rangers jamming, because I really don't want to take free strikes on my birds, because they need 6s to hit and 5s to kill, and that's not good.
Yep, that's not good at all. Rangers only have little crappy knives, but birds have really crappy stats, so it's a nice trade-off.
Yeah. Nice from your perspective.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So okay, so this is a clinic at this point on how does one recover from what feels like a really bad situation. I know in tournaments a lot we talk about kind of the nature of tilting and like when you kind of get on a bit of a back foot and try to have to make a plan with the tools you've got left. How do you respond to this kind of situation emotionally?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just a personal thing. I try not to get as emotionally charged when it comes to these things. Just, take what little pieces you can away from the enemy with what you have left. Like, I'm going to start with the Withershadow Combine. They all have Darkfire. One of them is going to put Puppet Master on a unit of birds. The other two are going to cast Darkfire, and they're going to try to kill some Rangers. Okay. If I kill a Ranger or two, I'm happy. I've taken pieces off the board. I'm getting back into a more positive mindset because I'm seeing my pieces do things. So I kill a Ranger, get a soul on Admonia. That's great. I can do something with that soul later. I miss with Maelovus. Not a huge deal. I can deal with Rangers with other things.
It's interesting the way you describe like seeing your pieces doing things. I watch a lot of people who get really tilted in circumstances where they're down and they just sort of freeze up. And I think there's something really to just kind of going through the easy pieces. Like, okay, this activation is fairly simple. They're going to do this thing. Let's move on to the next thing.
Yep. It's just bit by bit, do what you need to get back into a positive mindset so that you're not like getting frustrated, because that makes for a poor gaming experience for both players.
Absolutely.
So here, I have an option with the Warwitch Siren. I can either choose to try to kill those Rangers or put some damage in on some Hammersmiths so that I can get finisher with the birds. And I decide to go for these two Hammersmiths on the bottom. And I hit both of them, apply corrosion to both of them. Unfortunately, corrosion doesn't kick in yet. And then I do no damage to the first one. I think I do 1 point to the other one.
Just enough. Enough to make that finisher trigger.
Brock's finisher.
I think, unfortunately, the one that's a little bit too far over for you. Yeah.
Because I haven't cleared out those Rangers, so I probably should have done that with the Warwitch Siren, but c'est la vie. And then I'm going to activate the Banes. They're out of charge range because Tim made very sure of that. However, I can run and engage them just to get some Dark Shroud on them.
Yeah, I mean, that -2 armor is really relevant here.
And then the Banes fill the pockets of what they can just to get into the zone here and then be in position to charge next turn.
Your goal here is just to be able to threaten the whole zone. It's either you bully me out or you get to take Hammersmiths.
And I'm good with either of those things. So the other thing I'm going to try and do here is put Scything Touch on a bird in the top unit.
Yep.
Just one of them.
Okay.
Engage both the Centurion and the Hammersmith there. Maybe put some damage in with some bird charges. Hope it goes well. Just do what I can to jam up, because as long as you're like you have one Jack in the top zone, and if I can jam the other two out, that's fine. And I have the bigger issue is the 3 Hammersmiths in the bottom zone. But I'm confident that as long as the birds jam out the Hammersmiths, that the Banes can take 1 or 2 if I'm lucky next turn.
Fair. Yep.
And I also just don't know what to do with the rest of Goreshade's focus this turn, so I just kind of camp 5 because I haven't got my Arc Nodes in any position to Siphon Bolt stuff. I thought about using that one beside the top zone to run in and maybe Siphon Bolt a Centurion to get proc finisher, but that's just it's throwing away an Arc Node that I think I'm going to probably need in the future. Like, I don't want to go up with Goreshade at all. Like, I want to kind of hang back and just sling Siphon Bolts when I can and just rotate my
he only has
upkeep.
reposition 3, right?
Yeah, he has reposition 3, so he can't really move up and then do his stuff and then get out of dodge. He only goes so far. And I also thought about maybe going up and stationarying some more jacks and then repoing back, but that's just a bad time.
I mean, I've seen that like defensive feat from Goreshade before, but I feel like saving it to kind of bully your opponent is better. Maybe is that the reasoning here, Evan?
Yeah, because like I could force all your jacks to spend a focus to shake stationary, so you kind of don't get power up for a turn, but you're not killing anything that's hugely valuable to me at this point because it's just 1 point birds. Because they're 10 for 10.
Yeah, you paid 20 points to get 20 models,
which is fantastic. They're 20 models that can just go 14 inches and be in your face.
At a certain point, quantity is a quality. Is that the?
Yeah.
Makes sense to me. All right.
So this top unit of birds charged. I decided with the first bird that got the charge the Hammersmith to just roll it. It's not great. It's dice. I need an 11 to proc finisher on the other 2 birds. I fail it, but I puppet master it and get the 11. Do exactly 1 point of damage.
1 point is enough. The other 2 birds CMA, I think, and they have the weapon master now that they're finished.
And they do, I think, 4 points to the 3.
It's actually more like 7. Like you take out a column and a bit.
I did a good chunk of damage. Unfortunately, I have no more attacks after that. I could have probably just done 2 individual rolls, although it's still 6s to hit, which isn't fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's that unit of birds done. The Arc Node, I want to be in such a position that he's still in my control area, but also out of range of dying to a Centurion. Because otherwise he just gets that zone. Which I don't want, because I have a lot of models that, and I should be able to contest zones at this point in the game.
It does seem like the thing you need to do is really pressure those scenario elements.
Especially when most of my army is in the bottom.
Yeah. The Arc Node on the top there is posing a real problem because now that my feet's gone and you've killed Linus Arisal, Centurions get to charge 7 inches and reach 2 inches. So
yep.
They are only a 9-inch threat, and I'm pretty sure you're more than 9 inches away.
Yep. So I had the plan to charge in that Hammersmith at originally, and the birds that from the other units that charged the Rangers only killed one of them. So that one is going to pose a huge threat just for free strikes. So I can only get 1 bird past him, and he charges Ragman. Because I figure he's not going to do any damage to a Hammersmith alone. And if I get lucky, taking Ragman out is a good thing, because he can't just laser beam Bone Shaker stuff.
Yep.
And a couple of birds run, and a couple more hang behind, because there's another Ranger on my side of the table that marked the target to wrong eye. So they're going to CMA and hope to kill him. They missed. They missed there as well. Sorry, they missed both Rangers, which is a problem. But I boxcars Ragman and kill him with the charge attack.
Yep, that's good. That's definitely a big deal.
And then he repos back in front of the Warjack.
Yeah, I don't have enough solos in this list to really afford to throw them away. So Evan getting, I mean, even throwing away Deathjack to get Linus Arisal, you can already see how relevant it is in that top zone not having access to Hunter's Mark. And I mean, I feated to kill Deathjack, which I think was still the right answer, but it does restrict my options quite a bit.
So corrosion fades from the undamaged Hammersmith, unfortunately.
The damaged one takes a point. 27 turn clock.
Womp womp.
Yeah, relevant because of finisher. So this turn, my goal is to do some attrition work, clear out some birds, try to just remove options. I'm trying to mitigate what Evan can do as much as possible. I'm probably not going to cast Easy Rider this turn, just looking at how the board is kind of shaping up. Which means Kraye's got some options. I could maybe throw out a spell, try to nuke something for Morbid.
Arcane Blast has been used is going to get used, which is not a thing that happens often, right?
It's AoE 4 now, which I think helped it a little bit.
Okay.
And it's respectable POW, so I'm gonna
All right.
see what I can't do here.
Just smashing birds to bits with a Hammersmith.
With a Centurion. Oh no, sorry, is that the Hammersmith?
This is the Hammersmith.
Yeah, sorry. The Hammersmith activates first, and then he repos a couple of inches, just tucks up next to the other bird. With the potential for 3 initials, they just need to roll 3 6s, like with the 2 initials and a power up. It's not technically 3 initials, but it's pretty close. So Kraye charges a bird, cavalry model, so I get an additional boosted attack rolls. I hit, kill a bird, and now I'm going to try that Arcane Blast we talked about a moment ago, which is pretty good.
Targeting the leader model of the bird unit.
Yep. I don't really think about the fact that this gives you a spell vortex, but it certainly does. You're well within 14. I try to hit here, magic 6. I hit him and kill the guy next to him as well.
Spell Vortex, for those who don't know, is an ability Goreshade has where if an enemy casts a spell in his control area, he gets a free spell next turn.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a really neat ability. It kind of replaced his like Psychic Vampire and those kind of things he had in previous iterations. It's kind of that notion that he's like a magic hungry fiend. Centurion, who repoed into the zone the previous turn,
kills more birds,
trying to block a little bit. The other Centurion polarity fields and then repos sort of. My goal is to block some line of sight to Kraye. We'll see how effective I am with it. I'd hoped to charge Admonia, but it's definitely not happening. She's well out of my range. So they move up base to base, polarity field. So neither of them can be charged. And I've got a little bit of line of sight blocked. And yeah, now it's Hammersmith's in the zone time. This one moves up, stays in the melee range of a Bane, makes its first attack against the Bane.
Moves the dice tray because it's in the way.
Yep, literally in the way. Kills a Bane. Second initial on the Warwitch Siren, I boost to hit and miss with authority.
This was the point in the game I realized that Banes only get tough when they have the UA.
Yes, that's correct, and that's new since the errata. They don't otherwise have tough.
Read the card, folks.
I mean, they still have a lot of damage potential, which I think is one of the things that's appealing about them in your list.
For sure, they're mainly here because of Dark Shroud, because the jamming units are just the birds as opposed to the Banes.
Yeah, the Banes have to do work after the birds deliver.
The birds and the Banes.
The birds and the Banes. Let me tell you about the birds and the Banes. Hammersmith comes up, does some damage, kills 2 of the birds, repos right out of the zone, gets back into Kraye's control area. They actually still have repo while out of Kraye's control area, which is really cool. A lot of people don't think about that they are, that's a rule that they get, and it doesn't have a while within control area clause. It's just got a this model's Battlegroup. So you can kind of get allocated focus or power up and then charge out of control area, kill things, and repo back into control area, which lets Kraye stay safer than one otherwise might anticipate. This Hammersmith in the zone comes up, kills a couple of birds, and again, just trying to do work against Evan's army, just putting all those attacks in, rolling a whole bunch of 6s, which is what you need to hit them. Still a lot of models.
So it comes to my turn, and I feel like I'm going to be able to kill the heavies in the bottom zone with some effort, at least. And I have the potential to just chuck an assassination run at Haley, because it doesn't cost me. Well, it costs me my feet. That's it. So I'm gonna start with the Warwitch Siren. She's gonna spray on such an angle that she kills the ranger in the way of a lot of birds, or at least tries to, because she's got a 2-inch reach. The Hammersmith has 1, so she can walk behind him.
Yep, and also she's just spraying, so it's magic ability. She can go kill whatever she wants.
Yep. So she does that.
Kills the ranger, throws a couple of corrosions up on those 2 Hammersmiths. Poor Hammersmiths.
Yep.
All they wanted was love, and all they got was venom in the face.
So then the birds activate, and I get 4, because that one bird that's going to be to the far right and up is actually in the other unit.
Yep, that's true.
So 4 birds charge 1 Hammersmith, 1 charges the other, and there's still 2 in the back that are going to have to CMA a ranger.
Yeah, those 2 in the back that failed to CMA the ranger last time, this turn they're going to succeed.
So I miss with the first bird, hit with the second one?
Yep.
And then do some damage. And then the last 2 CMA and miss on double ones. Then I attack the ranger, finally kill him, and I attack the bottom Hammersmith, but I don't have finisher or a charge bonus, so I just don't do damage. These birds repo, and then we try to repo in such a path. Tim helps me a bit here. In such a way to clear a path for the Banes.
Yep.
Because this way, I can go further than I thought I could. Because this way, we get 3 Banes on the top Hammersmith and 5 on the bottom one.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Which, with the damage I've done to the birds, they should be 3 Banes should be able to clean up the Hammersmith, and then 5 on their own should just kill the other one. So here's hoping this goes well.
Yeah, it's. I mean, a lot of people kind of poo-pooed the change to Banes, and even post-errata getting the tough back on the UA. I know a lot of CRYX players are still talking about not bothering to play them. As we see metas that involve a whole bunch of jacks, like if your meta right now is, Karchev and 9 Marauders, Unit of Banes does work, my friends.
So that one did like 9 damage.
Oh,
the second one did 12.
Yep.
And the third one killed it.
Correct. On a surprisingly low roll. Yes, that third one killed it. On the other side here, where there are 5 Banes instead of 3 Banes, but he's undamaged, so this Hammersmith is totally going to hold up against these guys.
First does 3 damage.
Correct.
Then does, I think that looked like an 8.
Yep.
This one does 14.
14 is good. 14 is above average.
And the fourth one kills it. So
Correct.
there's a Bane to spare.
Yep.
So this has done something interesting, these Banes killing the Hammersmith, because it freed up one of my birds that were engaged from the other unit to run. And now this bird can get within the 3-inch AoE of Haley.
Well, Kraye, but yes.
Kraye.
Yep.
Right. But first, I'm going to... I haven't realized this in the game yet. So I decided I'm just going to go use Admonia to boost a Darkfire. Use that soul up.
Yeah, I think actually this Darkfire...
Oh, no, I had realized it. I grabbed the 8-inch widget.
Yeah,
yes.
this Darkfire actually helps you a lot, and I make a mistake here. So you boost to hit the Darkfire with the soul that Admonia has, and you Puppet Master Goreshade, which is probably the right call here.
Yep.
Because at this point you're thinking, I'm going to stationary you, and then I'm going to do some work. So Admonia is just trying to get a couple points of damage in. I'm Def 17 with Bullet Dodger, and you miss, so I decide to Bullet Dodge, but instead of Bullet Dodging away from you, like back behind that house or just further into the zone there, I Bullet Dodger into the rubble to give myself cover, which I think is a really big mistake.
So here I'm just going to very, precisely try to avoid the Hammersmith's range and not run farther than I can.
Yeah, it's despite having 14 there, the footprint of that Hammersmith actually makes quite a difference.
Could I have gone the other way? Does the Tinker have a melee attack?
He does. He has point blank on his gun.
Oh, that's bad. No, we avoid that.
Yep. So you get within range for an AoE 3 pop to hit Kraye here. And if I'm not mistaken here, Evan, I believe you used almost all of your movement there?
Yes.
Yeah. So had I have not bullet dodged there, you wouldn't have been able to get me. And had I have bullet dodged backwards, you definitely would not have been able to get me. Hashtag player skill issue.
So I also run the Arc Node in such a way that he can see Haley and is still in Goreshade's control area.
Yep, that all seems relevant.
Because here's the thing. The reason this doesn't cost me anything is because Goreshade can do this before he moves, is still contesting the top zone with an Arc Node, and then just if he fails, he just walks into the bottom zone and scores 2.
Yeah, that's a bit of an issue because you score 2 in the bottom zone. I stick a Hammersmith in there and do some work on Banes. Banes plus Goreshade clear a Hammersmith take you to 4, and I'm rapidly running out of pieces that can contest that zone on the turn that I go to 2.
Mm-hmm.
So the scenario situation is actually looking a little bit risky, and not only that, but you're feeding this turn, which significantly taxes my resources. So you stationary a Centurion, you stationary Kraye, and you stationary a Hammersmith.
Yep. And then I start Siphon Bolting. So the first one I do for free.
So Siphon Bolt costs 3 now, but the Spell Vortex helps a lot.
I hit needing a 4 because you're in rubble and have Bullet Dodger, so your stationary goes up by 6 defense, so you're def 11 in the rubble.
You still hit with a 4, and you do steal a focus from me, which you use to boost damage.
Yep.
Siphon Bolt's now POW 13, which I didn't realize, so it's dice minus 2. Changes the math a little bit.
I rolled poorly, and then I rolled the same, so it does...
You Puppet Mastered it to reroll it, right?
Yep.
So I spent a focus to reduce that damage by 5 because you're about to steal my focus anyway. You Siphon Bolt again. This one hits. You steal my last point of focus.
Does 8 damage.
Boost damage and do 8.
And then I hit again. Need a 12 to kill, and I roll a 13.
Yep, and that's freaking that. Yeah. I think it's fair to say I was not anticipating this particular swing.
I wasn't either, so we were...
That makes it worse, Evan.
We were both taken by surprise.
Oh, and I guess I just die. Oh, okay. I mean, that's a little bit above average, but as you can see from the attrition situation, it wasn't terrible for Evan.
Yeah.
Despite that really early swing, I think kind of staying emotionally in the game. I mean, had we not have been recording that game when I killed Wrong Eye and Snapjaw and Deathjack in that turn, I thought you were going to scoop. I thought you were just going to be like, and I can see the game. Like, that's it. But, I mean, actually staying in it and kind of correcting and being like, okay, let's make sure we make at least a quality video of me losing, you actually won that game.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is maybe a lesson to people who don't respect that element of War Machine.
Yeah, just sometimes, I mean, it's not... I hate saying dice happen because... That wasn't entirely dice.
No,
but
I mean, it wasn't... I mean, there were a lot of elements that had to go right.
Exactly.
But it still isn't a terrible assassination room.
Yeah, just sometimes stuff happens.
And, like, you can afford to take risks or make plays. Like, let's say, for example, there's a 10% assassination available to you, and it costs you literally nothing. Well, then, sure. 10% of the time you win the game, and 90% of the time you proceed to play the game.
Exactly.
And in this case, like Goreshade, in the previous turn we saw him sit on a stack of focus. You had the option of maybe Mockery of Lifing a couple of birds back into play or bringing back that one Bane. But, I mean, using your feet there moderately defensively, getting an offensive component out of it, taxing my resources a little bit, and then going, 8 down and 3 repo into the zone fairly defensively, that seems like a great turn. Like, that's a really solid use of it anyway.
Yeah. So that's that.
Yeah, that's our video for the week. Let us know if you like the match. I know the casters we played here are a little bit unusual, but we try to keep the variety of lists interesting. Let us know if this is the kind of game you want to see more of. If you want to see, just tier 1 tournament casters. We're probably going to be going through and playing some of our Ontario Team Championship lists. If you guys haven't seen about those yet, it's a really cool event that is run every year. If you go to OntarioTeamChampionships.com, you can see the lists of all of the players participating in that event. It's a 32-team WTC style event that's run in Canada here, so we're all going to be there. Should be a blast. And what else should we mention, Evan?
I feel like we should talk about the fact that we were considering, with a moderate amount of planning required, and it's maybe a bit of ways off, but we were curious if people would be interested in us doing a sort of podcast kind of thing in the style of either it's going to be fully recorded and posted on the YouTube channel, or we could try doing something, assuming we can logistically figure it out, live on Twitch, and then the VODs would be posted both on Twitch and on our YouTube channel. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that would be a little bit more like a talk show. Give us your feedback and your input if you're interested. We'd probably be recording it on a particular evening, so that would allow people to kind of comment and remain interested. It's going to take a little bit of planning in terms of our own personal schedules and in terms of making sure that we can stay on top of all of our content production desires. But if that's the kind of thing you'd be interested in, let us know in the comments below. Send us an email
Arcane Assist podcast. Our Facebook is facebook.com/Arcane Assist. You can hit me up on Twitter. I'm at TEnchanter. Evan is at Sylys.
Yes,
right?
that.
Yeah, if you want to let us know, I mean, those are all good channels of communication. And if that's the kind of thing you'd be excited about, tell us. And if you like our channel, we're still young and we're still kind of in our infancy here. So tell your friends about it, share it if you can, and tell folks about tell folks who are interested in War Machine content about good War Machine content if you believe us to be an example of that.
That seems to be everything.
See you next Monday.